Hey everyone, let's take a look at working with this calculator that I've got here. This is on the right hand side of the screen over here. This is the HP48G, and it's actually just a computer simulator of the HP48. And what I want to do is show you a little bit about how this is going to work, and eventually we'll get into using it for a lot of different things. You're not required to use this calculator. I just want to give you an idea of what calculators are capable of doing. But you can get a free version of this calculator for your phone. And so I would make that recommendation if that's something you're interested in. Now this calculator uses something a little different than what you're used to. It uses what we call reverse Polish notation, or RPN. Okay, and what's different about that? Well, when I take an operation like 2 plus 7 equals, and I want to do that on a calculator, normally you'd push the 2 button and then the plus button and then the 7 button and then the equal sign or something along those lines. So let's take a look at this. This is the on button right here in the lower left hand corner. And I've got some information already on there, so I'm just going to delete that. Okay, so now in reverse Polish, what we do is we hit the 2 button. And then what we do is we enter this onto the stack. All right, this whole area up in here is referred to as the stack. All right, and then you can see that there are 4 levels to this stack. And I've just entered the 2 onto level 1. And I should rephrase, there are 4 levels visible on the stack. The stack will go several hundred levels. I've never gone that far, but it can go way beyond what you see on the screen. Okay, and then I hit the 7 button, and that enters, well, let's not do 2 of them. And you can see I use the back arrow here to get rid of one of those 7s. So I've got the 7. Now I could enter it onto the stack, but I don't need to. At this point then I hit the plus sign. And then you get an idea of why it's called reverse Polish, because the plus comes after the 7. So I have 2, and then I hit the enter key. And then I hit the 7. I could enter it, I didn't. And then I hit the plus sign. And you can see the 9 entered now onto the first level of the stack. So that's addition. Subtraction will work the same way. If I wanted to do 2 minus 7, I'd hit 2, enter 7, and then minus. So I'm just going to change this last part into a minus. So I hit 2, enter. You can see the 9 is still there, by the way. And then 7. And then minus. And of course that's equal to -5. That's correct. Let's do multiplication. Not a big surprise here. 2 times 7. I'm going to hit the times button. So 2, enter, 7 times. And then let's do 7 divided by 2, because 2 divided by 7 is not rational. Well, I mean, it's rational. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It is rational, but it isn't nice. Okay, so 7, enter, 2, divide, and I get 3.5. So, right, I just hit the divide button there. All right, so there's some simple arithmetic operations on the HP48. Okay, we'll do some really longer ones, I think, later on, but not right now. Let's start talking about vectors, though. And vectors, remember, come in 2 different formats. There's the Cartesian or rectangular format, and then there's polar form. And let's say I had a vector like 3i plus 4j in Cartesian. In polar, that would be 5 at an angle of 53.1 degrees. More than 53.1, but that's just rounded off. Right, and remember that 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. And the tangent of 4 over 3, the arctangent of 4 over 3 is 53.1 degrees. So when I enter vectors on the HP48, over here on the right-hand side, you will see square brackets, and that's how I'm going to enter vectors. So that's got a pink shift and then the times button, and there's the square brackets. And then to enter this, I'm just going to do 3 and then a space and 4. And the HP knows that in square brackets 3 space 4 is 3i plus 4j. So I hit the enter button, and there you see it. Right, and that's in rectangular format. I can go to polar form. You'll see polar up here. Right, I can go to polar form by doing a blue shift or a green shift. So right shift, polar, and you can see the HP automatically converts onto that screen, and it's on level 1 of the stack, the 5 at an angle of 53.1 degrees. Of course, it goes out way more digits than that. And if I get out of polar by just toggling polar again, I'm back into rectangular format. I could also put it in polar form. So let's do something like 6 at an angle of 30 degrees. If I want to do that, I still enter the vector, but I'm going to put 6, and then I don't need to put the space in, but you'll see right above the space button, you'll see that angle sign. So I do a blue shift, green shift, I'm going to call it blue, angle, and then I put in 30, and then enter, and it's going to automatically convert it into rectangular format for me. But if I go to polar form here, you can see that it's 6 right here on level 1 of the stack. You see that that's 6 at an angle of 30 degrees. All right, so if I'm not in polar form, if I'm in rectangular format on the calculator, if I enter it in polar form, it'll convert it automatically to angular and then reverse the process. All right, so if I get out of angular back to Cartesian, you have 5.196, so this would equal 5.196 in the I hat direction plus 3 in the j hat. And this, of course, is going to be, what is that, radical 3 over 2 times 6. All right, that's the x component, and then 1/2 times 6, which is 3, in the I hat direction. Okay, so that's your j hat and your I hat. All right, so that's converting vectors back and forth, and then I can add these vectors just by hitting the plus button. Right, I can undo that process by doing undo above eval over here. Great, so that's a blue shift and then undo. And then I can subtract them. Right, and then I can undo that. And then if I want to do other vector operations, I can. I go to the math, right up here, MTH, that's the math menu. And you'll see vectors is the first one here. So I hit this white A button. That corresponds to vectors. The B corresponds to matrix. C corresponds to list. Hypotenuse, real, base. Not use those, so I'm not 100% sure where they're at. I'll go to the vector menu. I can do a dot product by hitting dot. Right, there's the dot product of those two vectors. Let's undo that. And I can do the cross product of those two vectors. Right, I can undo that. I can find the absolute value. That would be the size. This should be 6. All right, let's undo that. And then I can take it out of its vector format and put the I component on level 2 of the stack and the j component on level 3 right there. And then I can put them back into vector format that way. V3 goes into a 3-dimensional vector, which we don't have enough elements on the stack. But if I wanted, let's say I wanted to do 1i minus 2j plus 3k, I would put 1 on the stack and then 2, hit the plus minus button to make it negative, enter that, and then 3, enter that on the stack. And if I hit V3, you can see right here in level 1 of the stack, 1i plus minus 2j plus 3k. All right, so there's a brief introduction then to the calculator and the operations with vectors, and we'll do a little bit more with it in the next video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below.